GOP political infighting is shaping the ever-changing 2016 race. Dr. Ben Carson even telling a group of diners the race is getting so ugly that candidates are like gladiators going into battle.
What I call the ancient Roman Colosseum stage. Everybody wants to go to the Colosseum and see a fight. Nobody wants to think to that.
Dr. Ben Carson taking a quick break from the campaign trail to go on the record from Aiken, South Carolina. Good evening, sir.
Hi, Greta.
Nice to see you. All right, Dr. Carson, tell me, today you made a statement about Muslims and democracy and schizophrenia. Can you explain that, please?
Yeah, I basically said a Muslim who believes in all the tenets of Islam, including Sharia, would have a very difficult time embracing our Constitution and our values because they're at odds with each other. So someone then said, well, can't they do both? And I said, yeah, if they're schizophrenic, if they can go in both directions at the same time.
Are there some Muslims who don't embrace, in your mind, American Muslims who don't embrace Sharia law, and thus, you know, that would be a different a different view?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I grew up in Detroit. I knew lots of Muslims who embraced, you know, American values, and they were just like anybody else.
Dr. Carson, I put on my Facebook page today asking for questions because we knew that you'd be a guest tonight, and so I thought I'd bring the voters in. And Benny Joe Durden Bassett says, to you, a question to you, Dr. Carson, who would you consider as your nominee to go before Congress for the seat as the next Supreme Court justice? So who would be someone you would sort of think about?
Joyce Rogers Brown, I think, would be a good choice. But I think, you know, we should look at a whole host of different people. And I would look at what they have done in the past. What kind of judgments have they had? Who do they associate with? There's a lot you can tell about a person's life. And when they come to just do interviews for the position, they've been prepped on what to say. So I think the life is something that you can't necessarily prep somebody on. You can get a lot more information by looking at that.
A lot of the 2016 nominees think that President Obama, while he certainly has the right and the duty under the Constitution to nominate someone for the Supreme Court, that there should be no hearings. Do you think there should be hearings or no hearings by the Republican-controlled Senate?
Well, you know, they're not going to approve an ideologue. Now, if he's going to select somebody who's a strict constitutionalist, like Judge Scalia was, I suspect that they probably would be very willing to have hearings in a situation like that. So, you know, the ball game is in his court, and he needs to make that decision. But remember, the Supreme Court was supposed to be a system of people who loved America and who knew the Constitution and were trying to uphold the standards and practices that are consistent with our Constitution. They were not supposed to be ideologues. They were not supposed to be partisans. Obviously, that has changed, and people are reacting to that.
All right, here's another question from Facebook. Jennifer Michelle Greenberg has this question for you, Dr. Carson. She says, what do you think of the catty fighting and finger-pointing going on between other candidates? Is it helpful or is it damaging?
Well, it's very damaging, and you don't have to go that far back in history. You go back to 2012, and you see how the Republican candidates savaged each other. And it turned out to be extremely helpful for Barack Obama, who had compiled a record that should cause anybody to lose, and yet he was still able to win because they had done so much damage to each other. I hope we can learn from those things and stop inflicting these wounds on ourselves.
In your campaign in South Carolina, do you get any different question than you got when you were in New Hampshire, Iowa? Is there anything that's sort of piquing everybody's attention down there?
Well, I'm getting a lot more enthusiasm here than I had in New Hampshire, that's for sure. And, you know, a lot of people who think that things are going to change in our favor down here. So I'm optimistic about that.
Dr. Carson, thank you for joining us, and good luck in the primary, sir.
Thank you, Greta.